During an Oval Office meeting with far-right Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Donald Trump took questions from reporters, but became visibly triggered when some of them dared to ask him perfectly reasonable questions about Fed Chair Jerome Powell and Trump's beef with him, as well as the economy in general, which is suffering under Donald Trump's economic mismanagement. He is unraveling in real time as the pressure mounts. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got several clips to play from this Oval Office meeting. They talk about Jerome Powell, they talk about the economy, they talk about the Supreme Court and the Trump administration's relationship with the nation's highest court. But I want to start with Trump losing his temper on a reporter who basically quotes Trump's own words and asks him to clarify.
Mr. President, you did say that you are confident these deals will be done, but you also said that you're in no rush. Americans are seeing prices rise. They're seeing it on their bills. How long can they expect that pain to last?
So they've already seen it get much better, because if you were truthful, which you're not, I know you very well, you have gasoline that hit $1.98 yesterday in a couple of states. You have gasoline's way down. The price of oil has dropped substantially. The price of groceries are substantially down. The price of eggs. When I came in, they hit me with eggs. I just got there. I was here for 1 week, and they started screaming at me, eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. I was there for 7 days, and I hear that eggs have gone through the roof before I got there. And they were screaming at me, the press, the fake news like you're fake.
So again, he's not doing well. He's very upset. Perfectly reasonable question. Hey, you've said A, you've said B. They seem to be in conflict and contradiction. What do you say to Americans, your constituents, who are suffering as a direct consequence of your own actions? And he just can't help himself. So a couple of things. Number one, again, as we've discussed, oil prices are dropping globally because there's fears of a recession. Okay, so oil prices are plummeting. Number one. Number two, grocery prices are still very high in this country. Number three, egg prices did skyrocket under Donald Trump, and they are continuing to skyrocket during Easter weekend. So all of these things that Donald Trump claimed to be true are either false or there's crucial context. He can't single-handedly take credit for dropping oil prices unless he wants to take credit for creating the conditions for a potential recession, which he is ultimately responsible for. So number one. Number two, this idea, they hit me with egg prices. I'd only been in office for 7 days. Yeah, because on the campaign trail, dumbass, you repeatedly promised, you told voters publicly, we have you on video. We've played the clip so many times. Trump said on day one, 1 day, not 7 days, 6 days fewer than 7, which is 1. Trump repeatedly promised that he would end inflation in the United States, that he would cut costs for the American consumer, energy costs, grocery costs, and others as well. You created the standard. You went out of your way. Hey, vote for me, and in 24 hours, I will make your life better. It's just not true. So why are you so pissed that we're holding you to the standard that you established for yourself, to say nothing of the fact of the standard that Trump and Republicans created for President Biden and Democrats as well? Trump is just whining. How dare you use my own words against me? How dare you quote me to myself? That's not very nice. It's not very convenient. So Trump gets triggered when asked about the economy. Well, he also seems to be a little defensive, a little pissed off when they dared to ask him about Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell.
On Jerome Powell, you said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave it, even if you ask him to.
He'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But
do you believe
I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it, and if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
So
go ahead, please. Question.
Yeah, so he's not interested in another question. Yeah, we're not done with that. Again, getting triggered at this idea, you dare threaten, you dare suggest that I can't do whatever the hell I want. If I want him out of here, he'll be gone. Now, this is a follow-up to something that we discussed earlier today, which is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, when it comes to financial policy, is probably second only to the president in terms of overall influence that a person can have on the economy, probably even more so than the Treasury Secretary. Now, the chairman of the Federal Reserve is appointed by the president, but serves a fixed term and can only be discharged, according to federal statute, for cause. So do they report to the president? Yes, but they're not like an at-will employee. There's supposed to be independence there. right? You don't want a Democratic president coming in and telling a conservative Federal Reserve chairman or any Federal Reserve chairman, whether to lower or raise interest rates based on what's politically convenient. You want them to have the autonomy to do what is in the best financial interest of the country. So they are fireable, but for cause, not because you disagree with the policy. You have to show incompetence, negligence, something like that. And that's where Jerome Powell is confident. He's like, listen, if Trump asked me to leave, I'm not going to do it because he would need to produce cause to fire me. And I don't think I've done anything fireable as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, other than I just don't base all my decisions on what's politically convenient for Donald Trump. Trump doesn't want to hear that. Trump wants to hear absolute fealty. And part of his initiative and the Project 2025 initiative is to consolidate control over the so-called independent, semi-autonomous government agencies like the Federal Reserve. Now, again, only for Republicans. Now, if a Democratic president were still in office, well, then no, you need to have these independent agencies be as independent as possible. But for Trump and Republicans, they're trying to change the rules. So yeah, he's clearly very defensive about that. I'm going to play another clip here. This time I'm going to focus on the relationship, the dynamic between Donald Trump and the Supreme Court of the United States. So these two clips, we'll start with this one here.
Judge Boasberg, in a case against your administration, said the Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, you're going to have to speak to the lawyers. We have great lawyers. I can tell you this, we're doing a fantastic job of getting criminals out of this country who Biden allowed into the country. Hundreds of thousands of criminals, murderers and drug dealers. And I was elected because of the fact, I would say maybe that was the number one factor for a lot of reasons, the economy, a lot of things. But one of the primary reasons I was elected is because I said, I'm going to get the criminals that he allowed to come into our country so stupidly through open borders. I'm going to get them out.
Judge Boasberg.
So obviously a couple of things. There weren't open borders under President Biden. President Biden deported more people than Donald Trump in terms of per capita rate, number one. Number two, there were record-breaking levels of interdictions and seizures at the southern border. That wouldn't have happened if the border was wide open. Nobody would be arrested or interdicted because you could just go in. So again, total contradiction there. There are hundreds of thousands of criminals in this country, in the sense that there are some undocumented migrants that have committed crimes over the span of decades. So there are people with criminal records who have gotten into the country and elsewise, but under multiple administrations going back 30, 40 years, hundreds of thousands over a matter of 4 decades, including Donald Trump, by the way. So this idea that President Biden just, number one, told everybody to stand down the southern border, and number two, just let hundreds of thousands of undocumented migrant criminals into the country, just total bullshit from Donald Trump, but we're used to that. But again, this idea like, okay, well, are you going to comply that the Constitution doesn't permit the executive to act in contempt of court? Trump can't even say yes to that right now. Because he can't afford to give ground in any respect. As far as he's concerned politically, he has to always pretend that he's in the right. He has to always pretend that he's above the law. And you see this too with a follow-up question as well about compliance with court orders.
Mr. President, if a court holds you in contempt, will you take steps to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is.
Mr. President,
what do you mean what the truth? I thought you knew what the truth is. I thought Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a hardened criminal, an MS-13 gang member. I thought you had substantial evidence to corroborate that. Now, spoiler alert, they don't. They have none indicating that he's not an MS-13 criminal or a hardened criminal because they would put up or shut up at this point. They're choosing not to put up, but they don't want to shut up either because they've staked their entire ego on this. And I think it's also a test case, right? They want to see how far they can push the envelope because who knows, maybe I, a natural-born U.S. citizen, will also be sent to an El Salvadoran gulag because they don't like pondering politics where we make fun of them and call them out for their authoritarian bullshit on this channel. But again, this should be simple. Okay, well, if you're held in contempt of court, would you comply with the court? Now you would think the politically savvy answer and the honest answer and the constitutionally compelled answer would be yes, but Trump doesn't want to do that. I'm not involved. And this is what he always does. He's not involved. I'm not involved. I know nothing about it. I'm not involved. I have nothing to do with it. You're the president of the United States, which means the buck stops with you when it comes to the incompetence and failures of your own government. But this is what happens. Note this. This is the irony in what Trump and MAGA and Republicans and Project 2025 want to do. They want to simultaneously give absolute unfettered authority over the federal government to the president, to make the president empowered to fire people at will, no matter who you are. You have to do exactly what I say. It should return to a patronage system. But also, they want to empower a man who specifically says he has no friggin' clue and has no involvement when anything goes bad. So they want all the power, but none of the accountability. And that's how you know that it's an unprincipled authoritarian movement. It's all about power, not about accountability, not about service. And that's probably why you should trust them the least with the power that they seek. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.